Okay, sorry, my recording closed unexpectedly, so we're just going to continue from there now. So now, so the talking about the flex direction. So we're just going to put the first one I'm going to talk about is what flex row, and this is the default flex direction. So even if we don't put anything, self, it's by default it's just there. Okay, so now take note of it. We have red, blue, purple, and green. So apart from that flex row, now we also have flex row reverse here like this now, which is going to put it in reverse order. So you see, so it comes in reverse order. Okay, so the last, which is green, now becomes the first there. Okay, so now apart from flex row and flex row reverse, now we also have flex column. So I'm going to change this now to column, now to change it to column instead of row. So you see now that it's going to be like this now, and similar to flex row, we also have flex column reverse as well. So to save it now, see, it's going to be in the opposite direction. Okay, so and this becomes very useful. Okay, so let's say for instance now your work by default is like this now. Okay, so of course when it gets here now, the SS is going to flow down now if you enable wrapping now. But in a mobile view now, all you could do in mobile view to say, okay, on a small screen now, you're going to change it to flex column instead of flex row, and then you have a responsive design. It's as easy as that. So on big screen it's going to be on flex row, on a small screen it's going to be on flex column. So with that now you are achieving responsiveness for some part of your design. So we just keep going like that. Okay, so now in addition to all of this, now we have justify and content as a second property. Okay, so now I'm just going to come here now. So we have justify start, justify end. Let's say justify start now. So what justify content is used for is that it's used to position the flex items along the containers main axis. Okay, of course you know what the main axis is now. So you know, if we are in flex row, this becomes our main axis. So if I want to let's say centralize things or position things along the main axis or along this horizontal plane, now we use what's the justify content. Okay, so justify start is going to put it at the beginning, and then justify end is going to put it at the ending. Okay, so you see this is different from row reverse. Okay, row reverse, now the green starts it. Okay, so this one just move everything to the end. Okay, so we also have justify center like this now, which is going to put it at the center. Then remember, everything is on the main axis. Okay, so then we have justify between as well, justify between. Okay, which is going to put equal amount of space in between each of them, but then the first item is going to flush to the left and the last item is going to flush to the right. Now in addition to all of this, now we also have justify evenly, which is a bit different from between now. So I'm going to use what's evenly here now. Then you're going to see how things are going to flush now. So it maintains equal space everywhere. Okay, so even space everywhere. Okay, so then similar to this, now we also have around. Okay, justify around. Okay, think my spelling is wrong. Around, one arrow. So this is justify around now. So it's just like between, but for this one now you can see that we have smaller space here. Now this justify content is extremely useful when you are creating a navigation bar. Okay, because the logo is going to be at the left now, while the menu is going to be at the right. Okay, so with this now you know how to position things, okay, horizontally. And most of the time when we do create a menu, now we do use and justify between. Okay, let's use between. Okay, so that we ensure that if we have just two items, which is going to be the logo and the menu, is going to ensure that equal. Okay, let's just see what it's going to do. So that's two items. So you're going to put what the logo at the left and then the menu at the right, based on the length of the menu, like that. Now, so that's how we're going to achieve what those things now. So we're going to see them later, but I'm just going to undo this one now. So this is just what to demonstrate how to what align items horizontally. Okay, so you align items horizontally using this justify content property. Now, similar to justify content property, now we also have align item. I always like to think of align items as the opposite of justify justify content. Okay, so where justify content positions the items on the container's main axis, okay, align item is used to position them on the containers what cross axis. So if we are in the row, if we are in the flex row, for instance, now this becomes our main axis now. So to position things there, we're going to use what justify content, and to position things like this now vertically, we're going to use what the align items. Okay, so now in this case, now if we want to move all of these things now to the middle here like this, now we're going to use align items now. So in this way now I'm going to reserve this one, justify content, whatever our horizontal alignment is going to be. Then the next one, now we're going to use align item. Now to use align item, we're just going to say items, maybe items start, items end, item center. So in this case now I'm going to use items center. So it's going to move everything to the middle. So you see now this gives us what the vertical alignment. Okay, so that's just it. And then okay, we still have by default it is align start. Okay, so whether you put it or you not put it, now it's going to be there. So we have align center, which I've demonstrated. We have align end now, which is going to take it to the end of what's the this place here like this now. And then we also highlight have something like align or items baseline. Okay, so items baseline, all of this now you're going to see them in the documentation. Okay, so always learn to work with the documentation now, so you don't need to crack everything or cram everything in your head. So you are really not going to see this much now. So this is baseline now, you're not going to see that. But if I have some other items now that kind of shifts some of these blocks now from where they originally supposed to be. Now let's take for instance, now I give one of this item now a padding of 5. Okay, of course P is for padding and M is for margin, you should know that by now. So even if these items shift now, the contents, now you could see now the item still maintains the same baseline. You could see it now. So that's what it does now. Okay, but if I remove this items baseline now, let's remove this items baseline here now, then you're going to have some kind of behavior that's it's not supposed to have there. Okay, so you could see now this one now have a padding of 5. Now it shifts this one here, but this rest one still are still up there. Okay, so if I make this one, if I want to maintain the same baseline now, so I'm going to use items telling to maintain the same baseline. Okay, so if this one move now, every other thing should still. Right, so depends on what you want to really achieve in your layout. Okay, so that's it. Take note, you know the flex direction is set to row, so that is why our main axis is still here and our cross axis is here. So since our main axis is here, justify content is going to work horizontally, and items align items is going to work vertically. If I should change this one out to flex column now, the opposite is now going to be the case now. So things are going to work differently. So in this case now, if I want to align items horizontally here now, then you should know what to use now. So let's change this to be items center and see what's going to happen. Let me remove this P5 now. You see now So align item that was originally working vertically is now working horizontally. Why? Because the something is now in column form. Okay, and if I want to take it to the end now, it's going to be items end. Okay, so basically it's just opposite of the other one. Okay, so let's say justify stats. Okay, justify content is now what is working here now. So all right, so just know how to position things there. All right, now let's take this back to row, which is our default, and then items stats. Okay, so that gives us a default behavior. All right, now so okay, what else do we need to see there? The next property we're going to look at is flex wrap. Let's say for instance now we have more than 4 items there. Now to demonstrate this, now I'm just going to increase this. Now I'm going to copy this now, and then I'll paste it out right here, and then I'll come over here. So now you could see now that it's kind of shrinking. Okay, so if I still keep going now, you see things shrinking more and more like this. Now instead of wrapping to the next line, now that is because by default things are not going to wrap now. So you're going to put that property in the container here. So we already have the flex. Now to enable the flexbox, now flex row to determine the direction, justify starts, items, this horizontal alignment, this vertical alignment now on roll. Okay, so now the next I'm going to do now is to enable flex. Now by default now there's a hidden I just put it here, flex no wrap. So there's a hidden property here called no wrap now, and that's why things are not wrapping. So if I want things to wrap now, I'll just simply change this to flex wrap, and that's all. Things are not going to wrap down like this now. Okay, so you can see how it works now. Okay, so and similarly we also have flex wrap reverse. Now it's going to put things in reverse order for us now. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the wrap reverse now. Let's use this one. Okay, all right, now whenever we have a new row in or new rows in flex, now a new property becomes available to us, which is called the align contents. Okay, what this does is that it kind of position the multiple rows in the flex on the cross axis. So it's used to kind of align the rows on the cross axis. You know, we are in flex row now, so this becomes a cross axis, okay, vertically now. So if we want to align these items now, we could use the align content property now. So to do that now, so this comes, so I'm just going to say contents content starts. Okay, so you see now that solves that problem of that excess space that was there before. Okay, so of course now if you want some margin in between each of them, you could go ahead and then add some kind of margin. Okay, we can't really start adding margin to each of these items. Okay, so though we'll talk about another property now, which is gap now, to automatically add gap to each of the contents there. Okay, let's just talk about it since we have it now. So you can just type gap there. So by default is gap 0, so you could use gap 1 or any figure you want there, any value now, so to introduce some gap now. So this thing you're seeing now is the background that is just reflecting. If I remove this BG black now, you're gonna see how the gap make things to appear nice there. Okay, but without the gap, you're gonna see everything is just gonna be too clumsy like that now. Okay, so I think you can really enable the gap to make things look well, so if that's what you want now. But I'm going to use the BG black now just to make sure we're seeing everything. I'm sure that's not going to confuse you. All right, so that's now. So we introduce gap instead of putting individual margin for, you know, the margin talks about the outer space. So if I want an outer space for each of these items now, it is margins. Okay, so that's just it now. So let's say for instance now, if I don't have gap now, so I can introduce margin. Then I'm just going to select one of these things. I'm going to press Ctrl D to select the rest ones now. Okay, so then I can use what margin, which is M. So I can add M1 to all of them, all the item now, but it kind of look dirty to me. Okay, let's use 0.5 now. I don't know, my zero keys malfunctioning. Let's just okay, let's just go dash 0.5. Okay, so this gives me the same result. Okay, so but I don't really want to do this now. Okay, so that's why I use gap instead of margin. Okay, so I'm just gonna say gap 1. Okay, all right, so this is a better fix for me. So still on that align content now, take note, don't confuse align content for align items. Align items is used to position everything horizontally. Okay, but align content now, which the command here is what content start content blah 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 like that now. So this items is for align items. Okay, but this content is for what align content. The terms kind of is a bit confusing. Okay, so this content is what we are working with now. This content work with what flex wrap is only available wherever you have some new lines, okay, based on as a result of what your flex wrap. Okay, so now we have this what content end. All of this anyway, you can see that and just go through our documentation. You could see it here. We have flex direction. Where is it? Okay, this justify content for horizontal positioning, while in flex row this align items now, which is these are the commands now for positioning vertically while still on row. And then this is the flex wrap I talked about now, and then align content. Okay, so these are these. So you could just go ahead and then try it out with the document. Ensure that you download this document now so that it doesn't look like I'm working from my head. Okay, so this is end, and then as usual we also have center. Okay, so we have between. Okay, so if you need to position things like this now, so you know what to use. Okay, there are cases like that whereby you need to use some of these guys. And then we also have evenly and we have around. Evenly, okay, and then we have around. Okay, so most of the time the one that you will use more often will be start, end, center, and between. So most of the time. All right, so let's just leave it as starts. Okay, all right, so that things flow nicely for us. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about, I think we've talked about gap now, but we just use gap 1 here. We can use any amount of gap 1, 2, like that now. So this is a much bigger gap for us now. And then this one just kind of add the gap both horizontally and vertically. But if we want the gap only in the horizontal axis now, going to be gap X, you understand? Then we can put in any value that we want, 1, 2, like that now. Oh, sorry. So you see it puts it only horizontally now, but if we want it only vertically, it's going to be what gap Y. Okay, so but if we want it everywhere, we're just going to remove that stuff there like that. So that it's going to put it both horizontally and vertically like that now. Okay, the reason you're having a big space is there is that the next item cannot fit into this box. You know, we added a fixed width to the container. All right, so that's why you're having that guy like that. Now sometimes we want to position an individual item. Okay, so let's go ahead and then remove all of this guy now, leave only the first 4 that we work with now. So sometimes we want to position just one item here or on the cross axis. Now let's take for instance now this first one now. We want to position it only this one, not necessarily moving everything. So what do we do in that case? In that case, now we're going to use the align self property. I think I have it here. So we're going to use the align self now, and then where we put it now, we put it inside of that particular child element that we want to work with now. So let's take for instance now this red now. So we're going to use align self now, which is just say self starts or self end or self anything that you want to put there. So I'm just going to use self end here for just that particular item now. Let's get rid of all of this, guys. Let's give it clean first. Okay, so now we have this one self end, we can make it center. So still on working with them, the individual item. Now let me remove this one. Now we also have what flex grow now. By default now it is set, each of the item is set to grow 0. Okay, so that's what is in each of the items. Okay, so that's why even if you let's say we have more space now, it's not going to expand to fill up the gap, or even if you expand the screen or reduce it now, it's not going to expand to fill up the screen. But if we set this grow now, let's just put grow here for this one now and see what's going to happen there. So it's going to expand to fill up every available space that we have there. So if we reduce this screen now, so if we have a smaller screen, it will always expand itself to fill it up now. But as we keep expanding, now it's going to expand to fill up based on the available space now. Now its own restriction now is based on the container. Now you know it have gotten to the end of this container. If this container is up to here, it will keep increasing to fill up that space. Okay, so that's how grow is now. Remember when we did the flex wrap, now we're seeing some available free space there now, so we could use grow now to fill in those kind of gap to ensure that no space is there. So it just depends on what you want to achieve now. Okay, so in addition to grow now, just as we have grow, we also have what shrink. Okay, so this defines if an element should shrink while it's being reduced or not. Okay, but let's see. So you see, okay, let's by default every item have this shrink property. Okay, so that's why they will keep shrinking if you should reduce them. Okay, so they are shrinking by default. Okay, until it gets to the content. Okay, now but then if I don't want them to shrink no matter what, now I'm going to set the shrink to be 0. So shrink 0. So this way now I'll prevent an item from shrinking. See, every other thing will shrink, but that particular one will not shrink. So if you want to prevent an item from shrinking while it's being reduced now, then you set it to what? So set shrink to what? To be 0. And same way, if you want an item to grow or expand, now you use what? Flex grow. Okay, so that is just how it works. Okay, so alright, but by default every item will shrink as you reduce the screen. So the next item there is order. So by default now they are going to be ordered according to how you arrange it. This is order 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you want to make this purple to be number 1, you're going to reset the order. So here now I'm going to set purple to be order 1. So then purple will become the first item. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, let me put order for every other thing there, so that's way. So purple one, let's make green to be 2, red to be the 4th, and then this one to be 3. Okay, so let's see. So see now purple becomes 1, and then green number 2, blue number 3, and red, which supposed to be the number 1 now, is now number 4. Okay, so you can use this now to reorder things now, especially when moving from maybe from big screen to small screen. You want them to be reordered, things to be reordered at different breakpoints. Now you could use this guy there. And then the last but not the least, we'll talk about padding and margin. We already talked about that, okay, before. We know what paddings and margin are, so we could increase the padding or the margin. So for this guy now, I'm going to say margin X now. So you could let's put a default first. So we have this padding now, but if we want it only on the X axis now, so we'll put it let's see, something is happening here. Sorry, we can't do this now. So we just use MX, that is what horizontal margin. Okay, so you see now we have the big margin here now, but the response remains the same now. But if you want it only on the vertical axis now, it's going to be MY. So you see it there now. But if you want it uniformly, it's going to be just M. Okay, so depend on how many margin you want to add now. And you could also add your own value, like I said now, because all of this now are default now. So you could put it like this now. So everything you see here, you could actually add your own value right now. So that is it now. I think I don't want the margin there, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, so I think with this now we've come to the end of using Flexbox now. So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to go and try some of those layouts again. Now I think I posted it in the month 2, so you can see more layouts for practice now. So go ahead and then try some of these layouts again. It's going to help you to gain better understanding, okay, of the whole work. Okay, so you could see some of them. Just all right, so you could go ahead and then try some of these guys now. Attempting them will make you a better user of what you have learned so far. So don't start from the very complex one. You could start from the very simple ones, as simple as all of these things. Now if you can really get them, then you're sure that when you start attempting the complex ones, now you'll be able to handle them. Now just the same thing that you already you are used to in normal Flexbox now. So just how to apply them, that's just different now. So just go ahead and then make use of some of them, and then you'll be so shocked at what you have learned. As simple as what we've gotten now, each of these complex layouts now, that's what is being used to achieve all of them. Okay, so there's really nothing new there. And then I'm going to encourage you to still go over to the official Tailwind CSS, Tailwind v4 documentation. Okay, so you could go ahead and then still check one or two things there. Now it's going to help you to gain more understanding of things. Okay, so you could practice with what we have here in this my documents now, and also go over to the official documentation. You're going to expand your knowledge. So all that we've been saying now, they are all here: the flex grow, flex wrap, and direction, and everything now. So you could go ahead and then see a lot of things now that are there for you. Okay, so if you have the time, you could take your time to go through each of them now. Okay, but the very basic, the very important thing that you're going to use 80% of the time is what we've covered. Okay, so the other things now is just something that I want to do something, I want to do this, I want to do that. Now how do I get it? Now you could always go ahead and then look it up from the official documentation or Google it out, and then so you just okay, so you'll be able to what, to find your way around each of those little things now. So sometimes now I always like to glance through documentations, okay, because by going through the documentation you see a lot of things now that are available. Because if you don't know what is available, you don't really need to what, to cram some of those things. Now just know what is available. If you know what is available, the more you keep looking at some of those things now, it makes you to know what is available. And when you know what is available, what's obtainable, when you have challenges, you know that this thing is doable. Okay, so that's how programming works. Okay, so just know what is available for each of those languages, each of those frameworks, and all of those things. So when you have a challenge, you know that okay, I've seen this thing before, then you can go get it from where it is being kept, from where it is being stored. So and then you are good to go. So most of the time now you don't really need to cram everything. Just know how things works and know what is available and obtainable. And when you have a challenge now, you know that it is achievable. You know that you'll be able to get it now from the documentation. So that's why we have some of this documentation now to actually help you. Okay, so you don't really need to cram anything now. So this everything is here now, so you could go ahead and then look them up again to practice for yourself, and then grab it even without me teaching you about what grid. Now with your previous knowledge on CSS grid, you should be able to, with your previous knowledge on CSS grid, in fact we are not doing CSS grid here. Okay, so your previous knowledge of CSS grid and what you have learned so far in Flexbox, now come over here to this part here. You see Flexbox and grid now, so you should be able to what, to work with grid. But first of all, attempt some of these layouts first. Attempt at least 3 of them, pick some of them, work with them in Flexbox, and when you are done, come over here and so you should be able to work with the grid there. So most people find grid more easier to work with, most people find Flexbox more easier to work with. I personally, I love using Flexbox. Okay, so just go ahead and then see what you could get from each of these guys now, like that now. Okay, so I think that's all we could that's how far we can go for now. So see you in the next class. Bye. Keep practicing, keep mastering the arts. All right, thank you very much. Bye.